Great defeaters, new and old, welcome back to another episode of The Breakdown with your host, BaseDaKID, Tony, the Pugilist Boy. We are the children of the game. Thank you very much for bearing with us, guys. Tony looks like he's in fine spirits today. How are you, Tony? What's good?
I'm all good, brother. I'm all good. I enjoyed some good action from the weekend just gone, so I'm always pleased. My team are sailing high once again, top of the league. So, I know you don't like me to mention the football, but,
I don't
very
particularly
briefly,
care
it
because
just,
we can
it
the
just, it
writings on
just
the
make,
wall.
it just makes my mood so much happier when things go the way we want it to go. So, yeah, I'm very happy right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, you can be happy for right now, but as soon as that crisis happens, you still got to show up in the same tempo, same attitude.
I'm ready for that. I'm ready for that smoke, bro.
Bruce, just to let you know, it's not a direct cam, it's a webcam from the laptop. I can't do anything about it until I get a new one changed. Just so your comment is noted. Don't worry, it's something I've seen, but when I'm doing these live streams, that's kind of the best I can get it with StreamYard. Unfortunately, it works a lot better in Google Meet. Just so you know. Right, so I'm gonna shout out who we've got in thus far, and you just see if our guest is ready to jump on. Send out the link to him as well.
Yeah.
All right, so shout outs to Mulla and then Untraceable, Jay Lanks, Bruce Kai, Guy Fawkes, and Chris Collymore. Big up to you guys. But yeah, don't worry. Hopefully by this time next week, I'm going to actually get a plug-in. I'm going to get a plug-in webcam, Bruce. So I should be looking as crisp as everyone else. But hey, I'm giving you free content. Don't moan. I'm playing. You know, it's all love. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, similar to last week. Special guest on at the moment. I believe it is midnight in Jeddah and Saudi Arabia, or 7 minutes past according. So we're going to get them on as soon as possible, just so that they can, obviously we can have that out way. Let them go to bed. They got a big fight on the weekend, and yeah, rules of engagement are as follows. If you're a member of the channel and you ask any questions, we will get those read out for you ASAP. Super chats obviously will be read out as well, but we will not see any of the comments in the chat bar because we'll be focusing on our guest. So the only way we're going to know that the chat is moving or a question has been asked is if we see a color come up, and the color is from the form of a super chat or the form of a membership sticker. Outside of that, if we do sort of pop the head to the side every now and again, if something does catch the eye, we will endeavor to ask it, but that's the only way to guarantee any questions are read out. Please be respectful. Also, people's time is people's time, and the fact that this is after midnight, we the time is being given up graciously, so we have to respect that. Anything you want to say, Tony, before we
No, just keep talking because I'm just messaging at the moment.
Okay, no worries. So where are we now? Have you brought that in? Yeah, so okay, Untraceable, Spencer I think Spencer cracked up everyone yesterday. Shout out Spence. Look, hate him or love him, Spence is a legend in the game, right? So there's not a huge amount of criticism we could ever draw for, but Spence is KG like times 10. Like literally, he's been that. He's old school KG. Like as you say, man started the beef and then tried to stop it for when the cameras roll. you know them ones there that they literally, you've got them right, and just before the cameras they got the sour face, but as soon as the cameras on, all of a sudden they're all smiles. That's literally what Spencer was like on that week, or what, you gonna let man chat to you soft like that? You're from South London, letting people down and that. What are you talking about? Oh man, I mean, from where you are, like that was a bit crazy, letting man from East London just chat to yourself on big Sky Sports, you know. And then all of a sudden, yeah, man comes up on his wind up, which funny enough, on my video, on my channel, I said, I guarantee you that whole incident was caused by Lawrence Okoli being a bit slick at the mouth, because he did the same thing with Isaac Chamberlain, and he came out of pocket before their fight as well. I knew it. And yes, he comes over, you know, having a little bit of a you know, on a bit of a wind up. And then you got poor Richard Riakpo. He's just there thinking in his head, no, man said I let down South, you know. Man said I let down South. No. Can't have this East London brother chat to me like that. And then boom, it just kicks off. And then his Spence in the 3-piece sharp suit. I'm surprised there wasn't a cape attached to it. That thing looked, he came in like Doctor Strange on some stop. Like, yeah, it was hilarious still. But I'm yeah. Oh, big up to Jonah. Neil Simpson as well. I see I've recognized your name. You have been here before. Big up to you also. And yeah, Bruce, no, there's no HD flex on the man. I'm just saying, like, I appreciate, because I look at the camera sometimes on the live streams. I'm like, nah, this ain't nice, or it's not how I like it. You know, people need to see all this gloriousness in its full 1080p, or, you know, what was it, 2060 for the for the, you know, the 4K or the 8Ks. I'm out here looking like I'm 360 right now, but don't worry. I feel, like I said, I think when I get the new webcam, it should work better with the StreamYard. And yeah, like I said, Google Meets is mad because it actually looks a lot better in Google Meets. Or it could be the lighting I got in here as well. Maybe if I adjust my lighting potentially, but you know, we'll see. All right, while we're still waiting for our North Bank Bren, I see you in the chat. While we're still waiting for the guests, if anyone got anything they want to address, because we didn't want to start on any of the breakdown stuff, the guests coming on, but base still high definition and is on. North Bank, you can't behave. They got the 4K cameras that they use on the ring walks, man. Come on, like that's low. That's not nice. Yeah, their platform isn't the greatest, but it's still working out the kinks. Like, well, yeah. I'm not here to defend them, to be honest. I still pay my $7.99. I've actually got it until the 1st of March. And then I think the month after that is when it actually goes up to 19. So at that point is when I'm going to cancel. And then I'm going to resubscribe with a different email address and just pay the yearly. And then I don't have to worry about my payments for the rest of the year. But if it goes up again next year, then yeah, they might have to talk about that boxing only bundle or the combat sport only bundle, and you know, give us the reduced price, because that's clearly what a lot of people have gone to the zone for. They, you know, they're there in this country for the boxing, so we should definitely have a, you know, like a combat bundle, or as you know, you got like in Sky Sports sometimes, and on Sky you've got the Sky Sports package, you've got the movie package, you've got all that. Like, yeah, let us segregate what we want. Sometimes we don't want inclusivity with everything. You know, sometimes you need a bit of segregation in your life. It helps you. It's peace of mind and peace of wallet as well. Bear 1 second, guys. Okay, Tony, why have we got the other one? All right, I don't know what Tony's over there concocting. You can't trust him certain times. These Guyanese brothers, they So that's a little friendly island on island violence right there.
It's not even an island, bro. We on the mainland, you know. Me a big country. Stop your noise. Little small island people, yo. You see?
Which part of us is small? We're the biggest one. Third biggest.
Okay, so here he is. He's coming in now, so you can. Yeah, there he is. Great stuff.
I'll let you do the honors, man.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, without further delay, we have introduced him. We have mentioned him. We have put the poster up. Ladies let's give a big hand. Let me see all your flowers for Ziyad
Almaayouf.
Almaayouf. Yes, sir. Come in, sir.
How's
Can you
everybody
hear us?
doing?
Yeah, man, we're all good. Thank you very much for coming on. We do appreciate it. It's very late over there at the moment. How have you been?
I appreciate you for having me, and thank you for giving me the platform. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling strong. I'm just ready to weigh in. Honestly, I'm ready to weigh in and knock someone out.
All right.
So your weigh-in's actually on Saturday, right?
Yeah. The weigh-ins are on Saturday this time. You know, the change in the schedule wasn't up to me, but it surely is upsetting me.
I can imagine. I can imagine. Okay, so I want to just ask, how come you've because obviously you had your professional debut back in August last year on the Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk card. So how come it's taken so long to be able to kind of get back out and have your second fight?
Okay,
Oh,
so I know he's had some issues with the Wi-Fi in the hotel, so
well,
you'd think that with all that rich money that the Wi-Fi would be pretty good out there, but I know it's a little bit patchy, as I had a bit of experience of that earlier today while we were checking.
oh no, just getting to the good stuff.
I know.
Unless he's dropped out. All right, we'll bring him back in when he gets back.
Yeah.
Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, technical difficulties happen. We can't change that, but we will bring him back on as soon as he does regain. Hopefully, it was a Wi-Fi issue and not maybe a battery dying type issue, because that one would be a lot worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will ask that question again when he comes back on. Oh, and yeah, okay. So what we're also gonna do he's back in. We can see him. What I'm also gonna do, guys, I think we're probably gonna limit the amount of fights we talk about. We might just keep to the main two because there's been quite a few of them, and we may not have time for all. Can you hear us?
Welcome
Okay.
back.
Yeah. I'm back now. It's all good now.
Lovely. Did you hear my question?
Yeah. What was it?
Okay, yes, I was saying, how come since the AJ fight back in August, it's taken sort of so long for you to be able to get out for your second pro fight? What's happened there?
I fractured my hand in the last fight. Yeah, I fractured my hand in the first knockdown. That's why when the last 10 seconds came on, I was rushing for the knockout because the adrenaline hasn't hit yet in the first round. So I felt that shock in my hand up until my shoulder, and so I knew I didn't want my hand to take another round of that. So I had to try to get him out of there real quick. But I stayed working with Coach Buddy on my jab for 3 months, on my lead hand for 3 months, on my jab, on my lead hook, on my body shot with my left hands. I joined the Dylan White camp. I was around the Dan Aziz camp. So 3 months of just working on one hand on the bag, and the rest, all the shadow boxing and stuff, we worked the rest. So, I made the most out of it, and now I'm back, and I'm excited to show everyone how my left hand is looking now.
Excellent. Well, we definitely look forward to seeing you. I'd like to show some footage from your first fight, which I just managed to grab. So while this footage is running, there's no sound, but we can still talk at the same time. It's literally just a couple of minutes. So I'm aware of the fact that you trained in Saudi for 8 years of your tutelage before moving out to LA?
Yeah, I trained for 9 years. 9 years. I was raised between others Egyptian, so I was training between both, and it didn't really make a difference which country, if it was Saudi Arabia or Egypt, I'm gonna be training in, because the equipment was similar, and that was none. So I just had to. I was just working regardless, and yeah, I was brought up for 9 years training from the local system here, and we had to make it work, and life changed for me after I moved abroad, definitely.
Okay, and you've been working with Coach Stewart at the Wild Card.
Yeah, that's where I started with Coach Sammy Stewart.
and then moved on to Coach Buddy McGirt.
Yeah.
I mean, talk to us about how you feel about the progression of your career, going from, you know, early days in Saudi to now working with what we would consider a legendary coach in Buddy McGirt.
Listen, I would actually say it's nothing less than a miracle, and it was me linking with Coach Buddy McGirt. Well, me making it abroad is a miracle in itself, but then me linking with Coach Buddy McGirt is where the stars aligned, because I have footage of me in my college dorm room in the States when I first moved. Before I even knew Coach Buddy was a coach and that he was in LA, even, I had studied his jab. I used to study his jab all the time. I used to study his lead hand all the time, which is what he was known for. And I used to also study how he'd direct other fighters using his hands, you know, and he'd move their bodies using his hands after he'd finished the combinations. So I have him mentioned on my Instagram story back in 2019, and I have it mentioned as Buddy McGirt, best jab in boxing. And then fast forward 2.5 years later, he becomes my coach. So that's just where I think the stars aligned for me, and I think this it was meant to happen. But when I saw the chance in front of me, there was no way I wouldn't take it, because to me in my head I was gonna miss 100% of the chances I didn't take. So who am I, a fighter who doesn't even have a single pro fight, you know, not that big of an amateur background, but I had to throw myself out there, and I had to prove to Coach Buddy that I'm an actual fighter, more outside of the ring than inside.
Brilliant, brilliant. So, I mean, what is the infrastructure like in Saudi Arabia with regards to, like, you know, boxing, and how easily accessible were you able to, like, study it when you wanted to as obviously a youngster, you know, before obviously turning pro? Was it easy to kind of get into, or it's been sort of a newer a newer feeling over there?
So I'm going to tell you, but what I'm about to tell you is disregarding the past 2 to 3 years, because this is where everything changed. Ever since Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz 2 happened in Saudi Arabia, everything changed. The participation, the exposure, the equipment, the funding, everything there changed. But in the Arab world in general and in Saudi Arabia, we didn't even have exposure to the sport. We don't have boxing on TV. We don't have ESPN. We don't have Sky Sports. We'd have to illegally stream the fights when it happened. And then that's one thing. And the other thing is the time zone. The big fights that used to happen in the US would happen here at 3 and 4 a.m. So you really had to be a die-hard boxing fan already to wake up and watch the fights. But no way were you going to get accidentally exposed to the sport and fall in love with it then. So we didn't really have the funding because we didn't have the history in the sport. We didn't have anyone who was successful in the sport, you know, and I'm the first ever professional boxer from Saudi Arabia, let alone I could be the first ever so many things for Saudi Arabia in the sport of boxing, God willing. And it's all because of God. I just show up. But the thing is, it all starts with the exposure. So for example, where I used to train, you said I trained for 9 years in the Arab world between Egypt and Saudi Arabia. I didn't have a boxing ring for the first 6 years where I trained. You know, and when we used to spar, we used to put bodies around and throw two people in the middle, and we'd have to, you know, spar in between the guys. And then we would also, when we had a ring, when we got a ring 6 years into the sport after I was training, it started tearing up. The floors were tearing up, and the ropes on that ring were just there for the aesthetic, because the boxing ring has ropes. But once you lean on those ropes, you're not coming back. You know what I mean? So it was stuff like that. And I remember one time the floors of the boxing ring were just, that's it. They were too damaged. We were tripping and falling everywhere. We went to a local gym and we stole the gym mats that they have there, but not even the normal gym mats. The gym mats where you drop the heavy weights on, you know, those big thick ones. So it took like 6 of us to move one of them. We got tired in the middle and we didn't have enough to fit the boxing ring floor. So we ended up having mats on the boxing ring, but they weren't enough to cover up the whole boxing ring. So we were still tripping and falling all over the place. But this, if it taught me anything, it taught me so much more outside of inside of boxing, to make the most of whatever I have. And that if I made it abroad, given the little to no chances funding, hope, belief, and opportunity then I could make the most of whatever happens to me now in the situation I'm in now, because whatever happens to me now, it's always a blessing, because I remember where I came from. You know, in the sport of boxing, it doesn't matter how much money you came from, how much or what family you came from, or what country you came from. At the end of the day, it's you and your opponent, and it's you, your opponent, and God, and that's it. The skill is gonna pay the bill. You know what I mean? Nothing else. No one else is gonna win anything for you. You're not gonna. If someone's gonna beat you, it's because he's better than you. So in Saudi Arabia, people think, and or the Arab world in general, people think money. But then you have to think chances, you have to think opportunity, you have to think, exposure to the sport. We didn't have any of that. And especially growing up between the two countries in Egypt and Saudi Arabia, where athletes in general weren't even a thing, so only in football, like soccer. But that's it. So it's good to know that, and it's good to feel that as a young athlete myself, because I'm representing so much more than boxing whenever I step into that ring under those lights.
Tony, you're muted.
Apologies. I'd like to point everyone in the direction of your Instagram page, which is, I've put in the chat, is The Real Zizo. It's really an amazing page that you put together with absolute cram full of motivational videos. If anybody had any aspirations towards a career in any walk of life, they couldn't go much further wrong than go and listen to some of the stuff that you say and some of the speeches that you've put on your page.
I appreciate
with that being said, you've now elevated yourself from humble beginnings to a point where I see that you've got some very lofty or high ranked people who you praise for having supported you on your journey. Some very big names in your home country. How has that come about? And, exactly how has that affected you as well?
So, like, this will bring me back to my point of, really, when I deeply think about it, and I always say this, is when I was a kid and I was going to bed, and when I would dream, I wouldn't even dare dream this big. I wouldn't even dare dream this much, because the chances of that happening were too small, And I say, if I was writing my own story with my own pen, it wouldn't be as good as God is writing it for me right now. I believe that everything I have right now is because of God. And like I said, I show up, I put in the work, I do what I can control, the controllables. The uncontrollables is something that I can't control. But to be put in the situation where I'm in now, I have to stay grounded. I have to stay focused. I have to stay humble, because I always have to remember that how many other people would die for this opportunity? How many other people would work harder than me to be in my shoes? How many people want to fight on those big cards, exposed to these fans, and just live the dream of so many people? So I'm really grateful to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I'm grateful to the royal family, King Salman, the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and the Minister of Sports, Prince Abdulaziz bin Turki Al Faisal. I'm also grateful to Prince Khalid and Prince Fahd from Skill Challenge Entertainment, the promotion that brings all the big fights to Saudi. These people have changed my life. And how that came about is just putting your message out there. I DM these people on Instagram a million times when I'm coming up, because what was I gonna lose? If someone doesn't reply to me, I have nothing to lose. But if someone replies, and which they did, then I've got everything to gain. And I gained everything. I would just send my videos on Instagram. I would always look for people's accounts. I would send my brothers, because I used to be in the States. I would send my brothers who are in Saudi Arabia to go camping in front of the Ministry of Sports, to go camping in front of the Boxing Federation, which back then didn't really exist. We had to beg them to send me to the Olympics. We had to prove to them that I swear you guys do actually have a fighter that could go to the Olympics. So my brothers used to camp outside the federation, the Ministry of Sports, to tell them about me. So we went extreme measures, because who else was gonna do it for me? You know what I mean? But then I just needed to direct them to the light, and once I directed them to that spotlight, they took everything from there, and they showed me support like no other. They showed me great backing, and they believe in me. And when I say they believe in me, they really just believe in me because of the work I put in, and because of the situations that God has put me in. And I'll always be humbled and grateful for that. And I'll always know that if I was chosen this easily to be put in this situation, anyone else could be too. And it's my job to keep working harder than everyone else to prove to the universe that I am worthy of it.
So with regards to that, I mean, you being the very first, boxer from Saudi Arabia, and obviously you're flying the flag. You are the poster child for the country right now in terms of boxing and sport like that. Do you feel a pressure to deliver, or have they literally been like, what, whatever you need, however this goes, we are proud of you for being number one? How do you feel about that?
No, definitely. Listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, to be honest. The pressure is there. The pressure is there to deliver the performance. The pressure is there to deliver the win. But it's nothing that I haven't put in the work for. So the way I think about it is pressure is always going to be there. If you're doing bad at something, pressure is going to be there to do better. If you're doing good at something, pressure is going to be there to maintain it. So the pressure is always going to be there. These are all natural emotions. But the road you choose to walk with pressure is going to determine the result of walking with pressure. You know what I mean? And I choose to just put in the work, because come fight night, when I'm sitting in that locker room, I think of the work I put in, and then I know that if I go out there and perform, that will lead to a win. But if I go out there in the locker room and I'm thinking of a win, that is me giving up, giving in to fear and doubt. Fear and doubt make you think so much more of the win. I need to win. But then when you're confident in your work, all you're thinking about is to perform. And you know that because you put in the work, performance means win. And that's what I think about. So like I said, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I know so many people would wish to be in my shoes, and I understand that, and I'm humbled by that. But the pressure is there. Pressure does make diamonds, though, but you just have to be a worthy diamond first, and you can't crack once the pressure gets put on. If you crack, then what good of a diamond are you to anyone?
True.
Excellent.
But
Thank you
so
so
many
much.
so many people would say, you're lucky to be in this position. You're lucky. Listen, I'm humbled, and I might be lucky, but I'm putting in the work. And maybe I'd love to see how other 21 and 22-year-olds would react to be put in such big cards in their pro debuts, being tested in their first few fights where you're not supposed to be tested really that much, and in front of thousands and thousands of people, carrying the weight of countries, and the weight of a whole side of the world on your shoulder. But isn't that a beautiful place to be for a young athlete? So that's just what I'm really thankful for. And every time I come out on a podcast or an interview and I talk about it, I end up not getting much sleep that night, because I just can't believe that I'm actually
Well, we're
saying
gonna
that.
make sure you get some good sleep tonight. We appreciate everything. Tony,
Thank
have
you
you
so
got a
much.
question? 'Cause there's some questions from the chat.
No. I got one question.
Go
This is
ahead.
my
Yeah, yeah,
last question to
yeah.
you,
No,
sir.
I'm here. I'm here.
I'm really appreciative. Who is your favorite all-time fighter, please?
Oh, Muhammad Ali. But I want to give an answer different than Muhammad Ali, because Muhammad Ali is my favorite fighter outside of the ring and inside of the ring. And I think he should be everyone's favorite fighter. Even the way I speak, the way I talk, the way I walk, I want to be like Muhammad Ali. But
Inshallah.
inshallah, I wish I could be like Muhammad Ali. But honest to God, and this is before anything happened between me and that person. My favorite fighter, and it's the fighter I watch the most, is Buddy McGirt. I just watch
Wow.
how slick that man is, how he moves after his jab and before his jab, how he
Yeah.
knows when is the right time to let out his combinations and when is the right time to not. And then I compete at 140, and this fight I'm competing at 147 because of the hand fracture. You can't do that much of a hard cut after. So this is a guy that's won the belt at 140 and at 147. So I just want to be this guy so bad. I want to make him proud, and I want to show him that he's taken the chance on me, with a guy who didn't even have a single pro fight, and I have to keep proving to him that I deserve to be there and prove to myself and prove to my family, my country. But Buddy McGirt is my favorite fighter for real.
Brilliant. Okay, so we've got there are two questions, but funny enough, they're both actually incredibly similar. So,
Yeah.
the question is they're both from our members North Bank Bren and Mulla Mulla, and they both have basically asked: has there been an increase in youngsters taking up boxing or like having more boxing gyms in and around the Saudi area that you've seen since, like, you know, the exposure from Ruiz Joshua 2 and Usyk Joshua 2?
Oh, definitely, definitely. The numbers are there and the statistics are there as well, because ever since the Joshua Ruiz fight, the number of participants in boxing has grown in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia by 300%. So that is drastic, you know. But it's like I always say, it always starts with exposure. This is always the fight business is going to start with exposure. We can't put the pressure on making champions just yet, because we all know that in boxing it takes many years and many decades to actually breed a champion, because a champion is bred mentally and internally, not physically. Anyone can do the physical, anyone can be put with a good coach, and if you take an emotions away and you make him a robot, he'll perform physically. But unfortunately humans aren't like that. So you know, it's going to take some time, and we understand that. We understand and we are patient with that. And I just want to inspire. The good thing about me being the first person to do this is I'm going to be the first person to make so many mistakes for the others who are going to come after me, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay to go through all of that, you know. Before I got signed by anyone, I was matchmaking my own fights. I was trying to get my own debut done, you know, trusting the wrong people, trusting the right people, all of the stuff that happens in boxing. But at least now I know, and I know what to pass next to all those who come after me. And like we are seeing now on this fight, there are 3 other Saudi fighters who are fighting a professional exhibition. And I'd like to think, you know, even if I played just a 1% chance of giving them that hope that they could do it, then that'll make me sleep at night.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, look, I'm going to tell you officially now, you are a member of the Great Defeaters. You will be welcomed on this platform anytime. We are now.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
not going to lie to you. I wasn't going to buy the pay-per-view, but I'm going to now because I want to watch your second fight.
I really
I saw the
appreciate
first
that.
fight.
You know?
Thought the first fight was great. I need to watch the second fight. So you've convinced me, and thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you for having me. You know, and every single time I do stuff like this, I have to tell you that I never get used to it. I never get used to it. These are dreams come true to be on platforms like that. So I thank you so much for having me.
And
Thank you for coming on.
If we ask you to come back, you'll come back when you get a
Yeah,
chance.
definitely. But this time in person, we got to do it in person then.
And when you're over here, we'll sort it out.
Let's do it.
We
Let's do it.
appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'll speak to you
Take care.
soon. Keep me in your prayers.
I will.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Ziyad Almaayouf. Boy, what can we say? That was an incredible story, and I was actually humbled listening to it. It was more insightful than interview, but that's what we wanted. To the point we didn't even ask him what he thinks of his opponent, but it doesn't matter. The victory will come, inshallah. Okay, so now that's been taken care of. We've got a few fights to talk about now. To be honest, I don't know how long we're going to stay on, so I reckon we're probably just going to keep it to the 2 main events. We'll talk very briefly about Chev Clark, because there's an interesting point there. Obviously, he's come from his from 4, pretty much not going past 4 rounds to go in a full 10-round distance in that fight. Tony, from what you saw of that fight, what did you think? And what are you looking forward to from Chev next?
Well, it was a very difficult night for him. It was, you know, a very able foe who was there for, you know, a good battle. Gave him good rounds. You know, he took some amazing shots. You know, Chev let off some really beautiful left hook counters to the body. You know, came through with uppercuts and hooks in the middle rounds. But you know, credit has to go to his opponent for being durable enough, and I think that's what Chev needed. You know, it was a very good exercise for him to know that I can go the distance. I can be competitive in rounds all the way through to the end, to the 10th round. And, you know, look, I think he needed that in his roster so that, you know, when we start moving up the levels, you can say, at least I know what it feels like to go, you know, through later rounds in fights.
Yeah, well, do you know what? Say that same guy, right? I actually think that, you see, if you need a comeback fight or something of that nature, I think he might actually be a great opponent for Anthony Yarde because he's a natural 175er. So as a comeback fight, to me, that would kind of make sense. Yarde or any of the light heavies over it, I definitely think he should maybe get a bit more work. What do you reckon about something like that?
I 100% agree with that. I mean, I actually didn't think about it, but now you mention it, it makes absolute sense. Yeah, it would be an ideal opponent for Anthony Yarde to bring himself back onto the scene and, you know, get back on winning terms. But without it being a complete, you know, taxi driver. The guy will give him something to think about.
Okay. Right. So moving swiftly on. I didn't see Adelaide's fight. I've seen the knockout. I still haven't had a chance to watch the fight or the card. I probably won't bother now, unfortunately.
Can I say very quickly about that fight?
Yeah, go for it.
So a lot of talk has been mentioned about the combination, but actually I think there's work to be done. And my thoughts immediately after the fight was, you got away with one there because your opponent wasn't able to defend himself. Yeah. There were deficiencies in his game, even in those small window of what we saw. I saw deficiencies. Deficiencies which against better fighters, because automatically, you know, they start talking about him fighting this fighter and that fighter, but the deficiencies need to be overcome. And for me, I think that's going to come with activity. So it's good to see him back. It's a nice knockout, beautiful left hook. However, there are, you know, if he looks back at the tape, there are deficiencies defensively for me that he needs to work out before he starts looking at the big boys in the division.
Well, that's fair. I mean, I don't think he would have been looking at the big boys right now anyway, to be fair. That would have been crazy. But yeah,
I'm talking about even like your Jared Millers, your Jared Andersons, your who we were talking about yesterday, matching him up with.
Oh, what, Fabio Wardley?
Fabio Wardley's, that all those kind of guys, not your upper echelon fighters.
Well, I mean, apparently he may get called for the British next, so you never know. But yeah, okay, cool. Right, so also let's see what have we got now. Gary Cully. So really quick, obviously, Cully, Wilfredo Flores. I thought Flores would actually take him some rounds. I did actually think it would likely go more points because Flores is quite a good operator in terms of, you know, navigating the ring and sort of staying, you know, economic and sort of defensively responsible, but the height and the size and the reach difference was just a bit too much for him to basically handle. He did catch Kylie with some good shots, funnily enough, but they just were little and far between. And ultimately, the big guy did what a big guy is supposed to do, and that is to fight long for you know, for the majority, and then when the person looks to make their exit in, you hit them as they're coming in to double the impact to the shots. And yeah, what did you think of that fight? You're muted.
Gary's a long fighter. You know, he uses his attributes extremely well. Yeah, I mean, you know, I didn't take too much notice of the fight. I just kind of, you know, looked at it and thought, well, you know, look, the guy's using his length. He's naturally gifted at, you know, having a height and reach advantage, and he's using it excellently. He digs beautifully. He absolutely digs beautifully. So I'm very interested to see how this goes on. The Cully story carries on, you know. To me, I kind of see similarities somehow between Gary Cully and Sebastian Fundora.
Okay.
Long
can see
range
that.
fighters who can just basically, shorten their shots beautifully.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, cool. So, moving very swiftly on to the chief support on that one, which was Dalton Smith versus Billy Addington. Now, I want to speak very briefly about this one, but I do want to give a bit more context to what I'm about to say. So, Dalton Smith is a very good talent, right? He's probably one of the better talents we've got over in the UK at present in terms of the prospect level. What I will say is that he is a person that once his plan A doesn't work, there is no plan B or C apart from I'm hopefully gonna just rough you up into catching maybe a shot that you can't see because you're worried about the fact that I've got my elbow in your neck or my forearm pushing your head back, or for like we saw body slamming you like he did it to his other opponent, which if I'm not mistaken, I'm sure he done that in the last fight as well, or one of his previous fights where someone is ended up slamming them down. Although in the last one, I don't think it was as intentional as this one, but it's like he gets extremely frustrated if he can't get someone out of the ring in sort of the first 4, 5, 6 rounds, and then just resorts to a lot of dirty sort of nasty tactics, which is not necessarily a great trait because at this point in time, while he's obviously got the backing of the zone and matchroom, because obviously he re-signed the contract, they've put a new bid in, so they're not just gonna allow him to take L's. Like, that's, to me, he's a walking disqualification waiting to happen, because there's a lot, like I said, he's not even smart with a lot of the dirty tactics that he does. It's very blatant, very in the referee's face, and he must just be getting leniency from one of those, oh well, this is just something that he does. Some fighters have that, where referees say, oh, this is just his style, so they kind of get away with things that another fighter wouldn't, because they don't exhibit that, unless he's putting that into people's mind that, yeah, this is what I am. But I mean, look, outside of that, he was setting up he set up Billy Addington for some good shots. Addington was pretty much overmatched in the fight, but what he was he was a very good mover. He was competitive in terms of when the two of them jabbed off of each other. He was able to nullify a lot of the times when Dalton Smith wanted to actually step in on the inside and work his combos. And every time that, basically, one of the things that I noticed that Dalton Smith was doing, especially when I was like basically from ringside, is that every time he would he would step in and throw his jab to then throw the right hand, he would square himself up. And by that time, because Billy Addington's kind of already slightly adjusted and moved himself out of the way, he wasn't able to let off further shots. He has to then go and reset back into his stance and back into his construct before being able to go on the attack again. And Addington was doing a lot of good nullifying. Now, I think he, after the fight, had said something along the lines of, the guy who was running all night, and those kind of, talks. Now, number one, Addington was not running. He pretty much stayed in front of him for the majority of the fight, apart from obviously when he's got his back straight on the ropes. You don't really want to be there. But even then, it's like, if the guy is quote unquote running, then it's up to you to find ways to stop him from running. Whether that's finding better ways to cut off the disc, to sort of cut the ring off, or to make yourself quicker so people can't outrun you. I mean, that's basically what you do in the streets. Like, if you need to catch someone, you find a way to catch them. Like, you have to do the same thing in the boxing ring. So when people say, oh, he ran all night, I just think that's lazy too. He didn't stand right in front of me square on and let me punch him in the face. So yeah, he's still got a lot of work to do. The Sam Maxwell fight is the next fight for him. It's already been announced. And then I do predict he will win that fight because Maxwell will stand more in front of him, and I think Smith is actually the quicker of the two. So he'll probably get to the shot first before Maxwell. He'll win that British outright. Then you step him up to European level and see what he's really made of. Because at the moment, he's been feasting on overmatched opponents. That's not to say that he's not good. I'm just saying he's feasting on people that he's clearly better than. And probably part of the reason he's so dirty is because he's just expecting to blow these guys out. Maybe when he gets to European and world level, he may go back to more of his boxing because he's not going to be able to treat them guys the same way he's treating some of the English level talent that he's got at present. But Tony, quickly, what did you think of that one? You're muted again.
Sorry. I like Dalton Smith as a boxer. I think he's very talented. This was a case of talent versus hard work. Addington came out with intentions to upset the rhythm of Smith. He was working in between the punches, trying to basically double the work rate of Smith in terms of punch output. And I thought that was commendable for him to try to do that. But I think once Smith had worked out what he needed to do to be successful in landing his power shots, he then reverted to just trying to find the power shots instead of boxing and using, the boxing that he has in his capabilities to do. I pretty much agree with everything you said about him and his performance, to be honest. Is it Sam Smith he's fighting next?
No, Sam Maxwell.
Sam Maxwell, sorry. Yeah. That should be an interesting fight because I saw the Maxwell fight on the undercard and he looks a good fighter.
It would be very interesting if he was fighting Sam Smith. I don't know if we'd be allowed that one. I mean, the guy's he's gender fluid. I mean, he may not identify as a male fighter. We don't know. That's a whole other whole other can of worms. Yeah, there you go. All right, so moving it on to let's take it to the main event of that one. Now with this one, this is the only one we've got footage of, guys, because it was taken by myself, so we know 100% it will not be an issue with the channel. So both of us is going to kind of talk over this, and then we'll sort of get going. Here we go. All right, Tony, I'm going to let you lead this one because you watched the fight from the TV. So, take it away.
Yeah, so this was the opening rounds of this fight to me were interesting. I'm expecting Lara to come out with his heavy-handed shots, big hooks. But actually, Lee Wood is very competitive in the first couple of rounds. And to me, they made me about foot because my whole pre-fight prediction was based on the fact that I thought Lara would just totally bulldoze Lee Wood in this fight. So it was interesting that Lee Wood was, very careful about his work in the first couple of rounds. They were both able to trade good shots. But Lara, to me, I saw very early on that he took to the body. He went to the body very efficiently and was firing some very big hooks into the rib cage and stomach of Lee Wood. But then Lee Wood in round 3 onwards starts to become more of a dominant fighter in the fight, and I think that's credit to Lee Wood and comes as a result of Mauricio Lara kind of dropping off his pace. It looks like to me at that point that Lara has done some work and he now needs to take a round out. And what happens is Lee takes advantage of that downturn in his work rate and doesn't let him back in for another 3 or 4 rounds. So it's then that I'm starting to think, hey, hang on a second, Lee Wood is doing really good work. He's covering up well. He's being responsible defensively, because he knows he's in with a big puncher. He's using his jab nicely. That 1-2 that you see there, picking a jab to the stomach, as you see, just generally boxing with real aplomb, and not getting caught in, rounds 3, 4, and 5 with anything that you think, well, oh, he's gonna be in trouble. So I'm beginning to think the fight is turning into Leigh Woods, and if he just continues this trend of boxing well, he's got a very good chance of winning this. And then unfortunately, he just seemed to decide, well, my success is coming so frequently that actually I think I can war with this guy. So he gets into Lara's kill zone and starts trading off with his own hooks. And it's like, no, that's not a good thing to be doing, And he gets rocked a couple of times, or he slips a couple of shots where it's like, whew, that was close. And then eventually, boom, the big hammer comes. Unfortunate, but yeah, that's how I saw the fight.
Okay. Now, yeah, I pretty much agreed, except for, all right, so when I made my prediction, I predicted that it would be, I predicted Leigh Wood on points, essentially. I felt that Leigh Wood would be able to use his height and his reach advantage and be able to box more so on the back foot. I didn't think that he would like just do safety first, but I did think that he would look to make Lara have to leap in and lunge in, and then as soon as he lunges in, obviously hit him with those straight rights, which is what he pretty much did perfectly, for the first 6 rounds of the fight. Now, round 1 was very cagey, and neither person did anything of real note. Lara was clearly cautious of the fact that Leigh Wood is probably a bigger puncher than Josh Warrington was, and then Leigh Wood was obviously extremely cautious of the fact that Lara is extremely heavy-handed. But if you even see the way that they're setting up, Leigh Wood can tell that even though Lara has got a very underrated jab, people don't actually respect the jab he's got. Think he's just sort of wild with the way he swings. Who's the rangier fighter. Every time that Lara went to throw that jab from anywhere outside of Leigh Wood's lead hand, that jab never landed because it was just always out of range. Leigh Wood was just too far back. And yeah, so in that first round, Leigh Wood pretty much controlled it. Lara tried to sort of come on strong towards the end, didn't really work out. Second round, obviously Lara just had a lot of success. He slipped Leigh Wood's lead hand, bobbed on the inside, and just got on the inside and got rough. And then when he was able to get rough and work on the inside and work on the body shots, that's when he was starting to have success. Obviously, then also cut Leigh Wood with the hand. I think it slightly opened up in the first round, but he cut him up properly in the second round. Basically, just with the two of them trying to exchange rights, and Leigh Wood just happened to hit that right. He got the right before before Lara took his, and that's essentially how that worked out. Now, even in those first rounds, like Leigh Wood was doing extremely well throughout a lot of that, but the one thing he kept doing was every time Lara would get to the inside in the first rounds, he decided, all right, I'm gonna hook off this guy's aggression before he gets to me. Now, in the first couple of rounds, you might say, all right, maybe when you're fresh and you're the quicker guy, or you're at least the ranger guy, maybe at that point it makes sense to do so, just to deter this guy from thinking that he's going to just jump into the pocket and come with that, and sort of come with that hook at will, basically. But then he started thinking that, oh, like every time I'm hitting him with this hook, it's hurting him. Where sometimes there was times when it got Lara, but there was a lot of times he's basically trying to hook off of his jab at mid-range when Lara's still there, when perfectly that what he's doing right there was working perfectly, sticking behind the jab, stabbing to the body, keeping the distance, and then catching him with the straight right as he's about to set off. All of his straight punches, that was when he was at his most effective, and he did that throughout the entire, like I said, the first sort of 5-6 rounds. And then towards the middle of the sixth round, he decided to get a bit more happy, more in mid range. So instead of being long range like he should have been, he decided to get up close a bit more and be a bit greedy with some of the shots that he was throwing. Instead of throwing the singles and the ones and twos, as we can see here, just a little bit later, he decides to kind of get in close to try and unleash a combination, which gives Lara the chance to jump in, as you can kind of see there, and get into the flow. Now, and those points there, he's still fresh enough to avoid it. But but then when you start to see towards the end of like round 6 and then sort of the start of round 7, all of a sudden Lara's now found his range. He's catching his construct. And as you can see right there, now all of a sudden he's on the inside. This is where Lara wants to be. So he's ripping the body. He's got the head underneath the chin so that you can't really move it. He's getting his work off there and landing those shots. And then Leewood now starts to panic and starts to throw shots out of range without trying to set them up. So Lara is now ready for them. And this is where he starts saying, okay, mano a mano, I'm going to trade with you. Him standing in the pocket and standing and controlling distance of the center ring was perfect throughout everything else. And he had the perfect game plan. But he has a tendency just to switch off or to admire his work a bit too much and go for and take a chance where he doesn't need to. And he did the exact same thing with Conlon throughout quite a few in the first round, in the second, even throughout the fight, even that he eventually won. Part of the reason he won was maybe because he took some of those chances after Conlon was, really tired, and he's a guy who's come up in the weight, so he wasn't a natural 126 guy to start with. Started to feel the pace, started to feel the aggression when you're leaning on him and everything, etc. And it was just a case where, like he just wasn't able to stick to the game plan that was working. Because even though every time he threw shots at Mauricio, like he was catching him, like every time Lara was catching him, I think he could tell, all right, visibly, it looks like I'm a lot more affected by this. So let me double up on my work. So at least that way, if it looks like I'm affected, he's taking double what I'm taking, he won't be able to survive it. His better work would have been a lot more to go for Lara's body, because Lara, the only time he's been stopped was with a body shot. He's never been stopped to the head. So you have to then imagine the body is the way to go. If you keep breaking down his body, get him tired, he's had to travel and do all of that stuff as well, even though he's from a high altitude place where they just naturally like stamina monsters. That's how you slow him down. That's how you kind of keep him honest, and then worry about the head later on in the fight. I think he thought, oh, I'm catching him too clean now, so it's going to pay dividends. It's going to pay dividends. And then just the headshots is what, to me, ultimately just became the downfall, because when he kept headhunting instead of going for the body, as you can see there, he started making mistakes, getting timed and getting and traded on. But yeah, I mean, look, ultimately we'll see. So basically we've kind of seen that, and I think it's the knockout's coming right here. As you can see, he's just got too busy. You see him right there. He twists into it, and he was doing that twist all night, to the point where he was pretty much twisting into that hook all night, rather than making it a nice sort of tight a tight shot. As you said the other day, the one thing you never want to do, you never want to show someone the hook's coming. You just want to do it straight. And you literally see him coil into it, and at that point Lara's in a crouch position, so you're coiling, but he's already crouched and ready, and he's already in the correct position to rotate his body into the shot. Plus he's coming up, drawing power from the ground as he's doing it. And whereas you've kept and then the big mistake that Leewood has done in that particular moment is that where he's got his hand here, thinking that a shot's supposed to come around the side, from the fact that he's twisted in, he should know that his hand there should now actually be a lot closer to his chin, because if he's twisting, that's going to open him out, which means that the next shot is going to have to catch him somewhere within that range.
It's your clip. It's your clip again.
I know it's my clip, but
so just so that you're talking about it and you can see it, I'll slow it down.
Okay, but yeah, like from that angle you can't see it because the things in the way, the cameraman. But essentially, it's like I said, when he's twisted and he's angled off, his arm is too wide on the side of his face. It needs to be closer in to where closer to where his mouth is, because if you're twisting, then ultimately the next thing that happens is that your body, you're opening up your jaw to receive a shot, because you're still protecting the side of your head, as opposed to where you know, this is where it should have been, but it was here because that's where you think you're going to protect. But from the angle that Lara was at, he was never going to hit the side of your head regardless. So that's where it should have been. But again, as I was saying, lapse of concentration, you know, taking a chance that you didn't need to take and giving a warning sign for it as well. Plus, you did all that whirl to then throw basically an arm punch. So it was never really, it just wasn't a smart move. And ultimately, he snatched defeat from the jaws of victory, ultimately. I mean, I guess we can talk about the you know, the situation that happened afterwards. I think everyone's had their say on that. I'll let you kind of say your bit. I mean, I've said mine. People can watch my video if they want to know what I feel about it. But what did you think of how it ended?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I got into it with Spencer yesterday on Monday Night Smoke. For those of you who didn't watch the show, you know, I know my view was slightly different to some of you guys. As a coach and having been a boxer myself, I kind of feel like I can bring some kind of expertise to the party in terms of understanding what it feels like to A, catch shots like that, and B, be in the corner. A couple of things that made me think he should have been given an opportunity is, you know, we got history here. We've seen Leewood down. We've seen Leewood down heavy, and we've seen him come back. The amount of time left, your corner should have a rough idea of how long is left, because even during the downtime, the 8-9 seconds that you're down, yeah, you got 3 guys in the corner. Between the 3 of you, one of you's got to know how long is left in the round. Somehow, one of the 3 of you has got to go. He's got 10 seconds left. Yeah, somebody has got to be. I've heard that clapper, because you were there. You heard the clapper, right? One of the 3 of them has got to have heard that clapper and said 10 seconds, shouting. He's got 10 seconds. At which point you're trying, and I'm the cornerman now. Here's my job: get my fighter's attention, because my fighter is drilled to know, if you go down, look at me. And my job is to tell him, run. We got 10 seconds. Because if you just run, spit out the gum shield, fall over again, and get yourself back to the corner, I can wash you with water. I can do what I need to do and see if I can get another 3 minutes out of you. Yeah? That's all I'm looking. I just want that opportunity. You're the world champion. Yeah? This ain't a eliminator. This ain't no up and coming Southern Area title. This is the world title, and you're the champion. Give me a chance to see, can you circle the ring? Can you grab and hold for 10 seconds so that I can do what I can do to gain you back into some semblance of what you were like when you got clapped down by Mick Conlon in your previous fight? Yeah, or the fight. Yeah. So that's my feelings. I want to see a guy given a chance. I mentioned it to Spencer yesterday. Look, there's plenty of fights in history where we've seen a guy look like he's completely out. I mean, heavens forbid, can anyone remember Tyson Fury against Deontay Wilder? Not one person would have given that man a chance. But he got up, and out of the jaws of defeat, he snatched a draw, which should have been a victory, actually.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I could give you countless examples like that. Give me a chance. So for me, I appreciate those who say safety first. Yes, because we should always be looking at the fighter's safety first. But the guy got up of his own volition from the canvas up onto his 2 feet. If he could have staggered around, give him the chance. You know, if I get that hit, someone says to me 10 seconds and I'm counting it down. I'm thinking 10, 9, go, circle, go, move. I'm shouting. I'm on the ring apron imploring my fighters, run. Sorry if I'm too loud for some of you, but yeah.
Well, no, but Tony, we've got a little something here that we need to, like, you don't have any pro experience in the corner though. So how dare you speak about this? According to a certain someone yesterday, you don't have the right to speak about that.
Oh dear. So yeah, that's me.
All right.
I'm thinking, you know, give the guy a chance. Do what your job is supposed to do. Yeah. Work with your fighter to try and get him back to the corner so that you can do your work.
Okay. Now, I want to address this comment from Bruce. Bruce says, I'm still trying to figure out how people are saying Ben is wrong when Wood himself said it was good and that in fact he was gone. How do we argue with the actual fighter? Right. Now, here's how I'm going to justify that one, Bruce. If you remember in the Conlon fight, he said the exact same thing. He said, I thought I was okay. But when the second round came, like my head, like it wasn't, I didn't feel the way that I expected. They said when I got off the canvas, I thought, oh, I just got knocked down. It was a bit light. And then the second round came and I realized that, you know, I was in a bit more survival mode than I thought. So that tells you then that he's been through a crisis in survival mode when he's been quote unquote gone and he's dug it out before. Now, here's one thing I'm going to say. If anyone has not watched it, in the what's it called, in the behind the scenes video on DAZN, right, from the fight, after Ben Davison throws the towel in, Lee Wood goes over, he goes, no, I'm okay, like, why have you done that? He goes, you've got the rematch, don't worry, you've got the rematch. So when people said, oh, you don't think about the rematch or whatever, or you're not thinking about that, you're literally, and if there was no rematch, would he have done the same thing? Well, now you've got your answer, because he literally said to the guy, you've got a rematch, don't worry about it, like, it's fine. Oh, no, you were too hurt. But you're telling the guy this after the exact same thing happened previously. Now, yes, to 6 seconds, cool, we get it. The last time it went straight on the buzzer, this time there was 6 seconds. But from again, me being there, remember, because I've seen it specifically at ringside. Lee Wood has answered every command that the referee's given him. Yeah, when he got up, he kind of hobbled a bit, but he even motioned to his corner, I'm okay. The referee said, put your hands up. He's put his hands up. They've dropped back down. He said, are you still good? Put your hands up. Put his hands up. Lara is behind the referee at this point. Now, at this particular point, the referee, because he looked at Lara and was about to, you can see in motion, his hands doing that. And then the towel comes in and he grabs the towel. So what he was really going to do was going to tell Lara, you need to go back to the corner, or he was going to push them apart, which would have cut off a couple more seconds. So at that point, there's absolutely no reason to say that he couldn't have, he couldn't have made it out of that round, and then you assess him. Now, as I've said, I've played it both sides. I've never said that the stoppage or to stop the fight was wrong. It was probably the correct decision. I've always maintained that the way in which it was stopped was poor. It was a poor stoppage, but it was maybe the correct decision. But the best thing to do is to let the champion, the guy who obviously has grafted for this belt in his hometown in front of his home fans, give him the chance to sit down on the stool and to see what you can get. If he's not good in the stool, cool, wave it off, no problem with that. And even some people are saying, Oh, but they're saying, Ben Davison is he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't, because if he doesn't stop it and Wood gets laid out, they're gonna say, oh, why didn't you stop it? You're a disgrace. If you stop it too early, like what he's done, why have you, he's the champion, he should have been able to go out on his feet. I'm gonna counter that point as well, because when Kid Galahad got knocked down by Kiko Martinez and then hit his head, everything, but got back to the corner and was given the correct signs to say that he's okay, no one said anything about Dominic Ingle letting him back out and then him getting taken out with the very next punch. He was comfortable enough that his fighter was switched on, which he was. No one then said to Dom Ingle, oh no, that's a mistake. Like you never should have let him back out there, because he was lucid. He was answering questions. Yes, he was hurt, but he answered everything correctly. He said, I want to go back out there. He went back out. Then it got ended conclusively. But no one said, oh no, Dominic, you should have never let him back out there, because ultimately it's a dangerous sport. This is what happens. Like you have to know that pain and punishment and being hurt could come at any time, and it's how you deal with it. Now, yes, again, if the guy if he is literally like, he got up and then he's buckled and then he can't even stand straight and he's dropped back down again, cool, he's in no condition to continue, but he's got up, he's on his feet. Whether he's out or not at that particular time, he's on his feet. He's lucid enough that he's answering and he's responding to instructions. So being the champion in the biggest fight of his career at a time when people's like, this is the one guy you can't beat, give him that opportunity just to get back to the corner. As I said, after that, cool. If you wave it off in the corner, nah, ref, forget it. No one's got anything to say, because you're actually seeing, yeah, I can't let you go back out there. But at that particular point, there was more than enough. There was not, to me, yes, okay, you can throw punches in 6 seconds. Of course you can. But it wouldn't have been 6 seconds. It would have been closer to like 2 seconds. And ultimately, even if he went back down again, I still think he would have survived the round. So then you assess it, and then you say, all right, you stop it in the corner. You give him that, give him that pride as the champion. But that's my opinion. Whether, I'm not a boxer, I'm not a boxing trainer, so it's not me taking the shots. But he said after the fight, I wanted to carry on. Yes, he's tweeted afterwards, okay, maybe my coach did the right thing because I was gone. But he said, I wanted to carry, I'm a fighter. That's what we do. Like, I never really agree with stuff that Tony Bellew says. He says he should have at least allowed him to get to the corner. Carl Froch said the same. Okay, these are people that are invested in it, whatever. Even Josh Warrington said, I think he should have, maybe should have got back to the corner, but I can understand whatever. So there's no right and wrong, apart from the fact that Ben Davis said, you've got a rematch. I don't like that as your first response to your fighter. Oh, you've got the rematch, don't worry. Like, why are you conditioning this guy for the rematch? Like, conditioning for this fight. The same as when he said, how long was left? 6 seconds. Only 6 seconds. Like, the fact you don't know that's all in, to me, that tells me that that's not the right person to be in your corner in those high pressure situations, because when you need someone to be calm and understand what's going on, they weren't calm. They everything was a panic. Everything was thinking about something that's outside of this particular moment. I need you in this moment. I don't need you thinking about 6 months down the line, 7 months down the line. What do we do right now? What's my situation right now? And yeah, that's my opinion on it. As I hope that well, again, if you guys in the chat don't agree, cool. I don't, I can take that. But
so can I want to address a point which I had a thought about after this fight happened. Yeah. Gogoruga mentions it. So Lara's coach says Wood was overweight, but they let it slide at the weigh-in. And we all know about the commotion that happened at the weigh-in with the pizza and so on and so forth. But my thought was Lee Wood ready for this fight? Was there an issue in training camp that made the corner make that decision? And I'll give you the sort of rationale on this one. This is like your AJ against Ruiz 1. AJ gets clapped. and he's all over the place, and you're like, hang on, what's going on there? And then the stories start coming straight after the fight. Oh, well, he was concussed and this and that. And his actions to me made me think, the weigh-in, maybe he was a little bit tight at the weight. Now, if he's tight at the weight and you're worried that he stripped too much, that could cause you to overreact when your fighter goes down. So, you know, if you got a concussion a week before, you know, if you got knocked down 2 or 3 times in sparring, in training, and you see your fighter go down in the fight, you're like, I don't think he's ready for this right now. So I don't know what's happened, but my mindset that with the way Ben reacted was something wrong. Was something wrong in camp that made him have to react the way he did?
Maybe. I mean, yeah, quite possibly. Who knows? Although it's a bit weird, they said that Lara's coach said that Wood was overweight, because if that's the case, he would have lost the belt on the scales, and no one said that he was no longer the champion. So how was he overweight? Because if that happened, if you do go overweight, unless you do the check weigh-in, because even remember they said they allowed it, that's different. But if he's overweight, you can't just allow it. He gets immediately stripped to the belt, and then it's just yours to win if you win the fight, as you're winning basically a vacant title at that point. So it was never billed as a vacant title. So I'm not sure how that one, you know, how that worked out. But we do know that Lee would have spoken about, you know, being tired and thinking about moving up to super featherweight before. So yeah, ultimately everyone's opinion is valid on this one. I mean, I wouldn't say my opinion is any more or any less valid. I just, because I know certain other things around the situation, it informs my opinion a lot more to say that, boom, yeah, there was a lot of errors that were made. But that being said, I guess ultimately the main thing is that Lee Wood went home safe to his family that night. It probably hurts to no longer be the champion, but he said he got to play with his children, and you know, he's breathing, he's healthy, he's not in hospital on a respirator struggling for life. Mauricio Lara's probably back in Mexico right now celebrating with his loved ones, family, friends and whatnot. So in the end, everyone coming out of the ring safely, or as safely as possible, is probably the like the best that you can make of a potentially bad solution and a bad situation. Yeah, big up to G Chain, who just popped in with the £9.99 donation to us. It said, "Evening, gents. Big up my bros Tony and Base. We appreciate you, G Chain. Thank you very much for jumping on the last few moments." Right, so we've got one last fight to talk about real quick, which is obviously, and it's a bit of a shame that we're only going to be talking about it extremely quickly, but to me, it's potentially the fight of the year. I haven't seen a fight better than this one so far, which was Luis Nery versus Azat Hovhannissian. If you haven't seen it, it's 11 rounds of utter carnage. That's basically the best way to put it, and it's the best possible style matchup to get an absolute barnstormer, which is the boxer puncher, which is Luis Nery, versus the come forward pressure fighter, which is Azat Hovhannissian. Both guys basically threw, they both threw heavy leather from the start. Nery had a lot of the cleaner work to begin with. He was setting up behind his jab and his backhand quite nicely in the first couple of rounds. He was moving very well, but Hovhannissian, even though he was taking a lot of shots to sort of the head, but he was also tucking up behind a pretty tight guard for the most part as well. But he kept ripping to Nery's body at the start of the rounds and the start of the fight, which stopped Nery from being able to move as much. So he had to then start to try and he had to then start to plant his feet, and it became a lot more of a war in that sense. Now they both have very sort of hard hitting concussive power or thudding power, but just the fact that Neary was a lot better at being able to punch on the back foot and on the front foot is what kind of saved him in this fight, even though he got hurt several times in this fight. Hovhannissian got hurt a couple times, and then just when you think Hovhannissian's actually taken the fight over in the 9th and the 10th, and he's really ripping to that body, and Neary is it looks like he's starting to wilt. He catches him with a great counter right in the 10th, which pushes Hovhannissian to the ropes. He starts to smile like, oh, I've just been hit. I can feel it. And then he ends up taking another big shot on as he's starting to fall on the way down with the left hand. He gets up. It's the end of the round. And then in the next round, he comes out exactly the same thing again. He's lucid, he's cool, everything's fine. He's digging to that body again. He's doing the exact same thing. Neary again looks like he's wilting, but then it's like he's just waiting for this guy to unload. It's almost like a bit of a rope-a-dope in the center of the ring. Hits him with a clean right, check right, and then you see Hovhannissian start smiling again. And then he catches him again with another one, and he drops back. He gets his arms up and he ducks down to try and defend. But by that time, the ref jumped in straight after that. Said, no, it's the battle's been. I mean, I think Hovhannissian probably could have still survived that, but I think at that point the ref said, no, that's too much punishment. And in that instance, I will, just based on what happened with Eidos Yosubanoli, I think it's fair to say that if he's taken that much of punishment, even though he's still giving it out himself, maybe you can say, yeah, you with your age and everything, let's leave that one alone. Again, I still think he could have gone on, but again, brilliant fight. If you haven't seen it, you need to watch that. That is, for me, the fight of the weekend. I know we spent a lot of time talking about the last one, but that's because we're personally invested in that being from the UK or whatnot. But that is the fight to watch if you want some popcorn and some drink. That's the one. What did you think, Tony?
Yeah, I have to agree. That was such an entertaining fight. Preceded by Shane Mosley. I'm always interested to see Shane Mosley Jr. because, he's like Conor Benn or Chris Eubank Jr. You carry a name and you kind of like, oh, let me see what the kid's got. I always watch, Ali's grandson,
Nico Ali Walsh.
Yeah, I always just watch these guys just because they carry their parents' or grandparents' name, and I'm like, oh, let me have a look. So I watched the Mosley fight. He won that comfortably. But then what I was then served up by way of the main event was just sheer brilliance. But at the same time, it was a horrible fight if you were in a corner because literally neither fighter could defend a punch. So this was just like Arturo Gatti versus Arturo Gatti. They were just throwing hellacious amounts of punches at each other, wobbling each other from time to time, and neither fighter could actually go, you know what? I can defend something. I can roll a shoulder. I can tuck into a shell. It was just like, you guys, man.
Well, no. To be fair, Neary was actually a lot more defensive. There was a lot of shots that they were both blocking. Neary was actually doing quite well in the shell.
He weren't doing enough, bro.
I didn't say he was doing enough. I said he was doing quite well. There was a lot of shots that actually weren't getting through. And if you look at his face compared to Hovhannissian's face, you can tell that he blocked more shots than Hovhannissian did. If you look at the punch stat,
but
he threw more and he landed more and he received less.
Okay, so punch stats, yeah? Power punches. Neary landed 150 out of 377. Hovhannissian landed 180 out of 509.
But a lot of them were to the body.
I don't want my guy...
Yeah, but a lot of them were to the body. They weren't to the head. There's a difference. Listen,
I don't want my guy catching 180 when I've only landed 150 myself. Yeah? Neary's winning the fight. If you look at the scorecards up to the end of the 11th, or up to the point when the fight is stopped, 2 judges have Neary ahead by 2 points. The last judge has Neary ahead by 1 point. So it's a very close fight. Yeah. And my point is, This is a slugfest of great entertainment. Yeah. I understand what you're saying, Base. You know, a man might be trying, he might be catching a lot of shots, but when you're still getting caught, the amount that both of them was getting caught,
it's true, but that happens in the lower
yeah,
weights. So
it does.
yeah.
It does. But as I said, we're talking about Arturo Gatti versus Arturo Gatti. Yeah, not Arturo Gatti versus Mickey Ward is three of the best fights you could ever watch. Defensively, they're disasters. It's like Liverpool playing Man United and Liverpool win 9-8. You've watched a brilliant game because you saw 17 goals. But actually, defensively, it was a shambles. So that's why I'm saying what I'm saying is, yes, appreciate the fight. Enjoy it. If you're one of them casuals that enjoy blood and guts and just two guys standing toe to toe and giving it, yeah, between trying to show a little bit defensive composure, this is your fight. And for me, who's a technical guy who likes to watch, you know, people slip and move, catch counters, all that kind of stuff, this ain't that fight. But I still enjoyed it more than any other fight this weekend. Okay. This was pure entertainment.
And Maestro just says, I'm just going to agree to disagree with Tony's breakdown. To be fair, these fights are on very late in the UK. My man was probably a bit sleepy. So
look at the punch stats, bro. The punch stats don't lie. This was a high volume fight. Punches were being rained in. Yeah. I wish we could have showed some footage. We decided not to.
Hold on. But can I just say this though about punch stats? Number one, how many times have we seen either punch stats are wrong or they judge a punch that actually is blocked and they thought it connected because they hear the sound. They just tap the button thinking that it's connected. There's a lot of, like I'm saying, if you watch that fight again, if you proper watch it again, you will see there's a lot of times Neri is blocking these shots.
But I also see a lot of times when Neri's getting punched clean.
No, yes.
Right in the middle of his face.
I never said that wasn't the case, but he blocked a lot more shots than Havanesian did. So even though those 180, a lot of them were obviously counting to the body.
But remember, the punch that is 180 landed of 509. So yes, the punch that's bear out what you're saying. He blocked more than he got caught with. Yeah? So I'm not saying that the punch that he's saying he didn't block a load of shots because it's telling you that.
Yeah, no,
the man threw 509 punches. He didn't get caught with 3/4 of them.
Yeah, no, but what I'm also saying is that a lot of his work was to the body, not to the head. So he was blocking a lot of the head stuff, but power punch is still taking into account your body work. So that's what I was trying to say. So yes, he's still getting hit, but he's not. He's defending up here a lot more than he's obviously able to defend down here. So. But yeah, all right. Look, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We've run out of time, and it's way past both of our bedtimes at the moment. I've got footage to curate for my channel tomorrow. As you can see down below, BaseDaKID, the hardcore casual. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. There will be a video out tomorrow. Haven't quite figured out what it's going to be on as of yet. But yes, we'll get to that. Shout out to everyone in the chat from me. Tony, if you got anything you'd like to say to the people.
I appreciate you all coming out once again. You know, we can see you in the chat, guys. It's been very entertaining watching you guys comments in the chat. We haven't been able to put everything up as we all usually do, but Base has explained what our process is on that. But hope you enjoyed the evening, and we look forward to catching you guys again next time.
Yeah, we will be on next week, people. We will be talking about the prospect fight or the novice fight. We may not necessarily get to it straight away, but we will get to it. We will have that because we also, let's not forget, Subriel Matias versus Jeremiah Ponce is also this Saturday. You do not want to miss that fight. It will probably be on Fight TV. Buy that fight. I promise you.
You're not giving any credit to Makabu versus Badu.
But that's on the undercard of the other one. So I said we're going to speak about that. So therefore, remember we're going to see it because we got to see Ziyad as well. But I'm just saying we will have a show on. But we also need to make sure you watch Jeremiah Ponce versus Subriel Matias this Saturday. It's a PBC show, so it will probably be on Fight TV. It'll probably be what, $8.99, $9.99. It will be worth the purchase. That's all I'm saying. So, yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, peace out. You can see my tickers there. Tony had his one up earlier, but we will put his one back up just to end the show. And yeah, hope you all have a great night, and we will be back next week. Take care.